This is Total Disruption Boardroom Battleground, where bold entrepreneurs step up and they put their businesses to the test.
Over the next 12 weeks, we'll push our contestants beyond their limits in branding, marketing, leadership, strategy, scalability, and profitability. Every move counts. Every misstep, a crucial lesson. Every victory, a moment to shine. Behind the scenes, a world-class production team will showcase their business like never before.
In the end, a single superstar is going to rise above the rest.
This is Total Disruption.
Boardroom Battleground.
Welcome back to Boardroom Battleground. I'm Dr. Jake Clendenning. I'm a mindset strategist, a connection coach, and a firm believer that a one-time sale means little if no one ever comes back.
And I'm Michael Libercci, growth guy, loyalty nerd, and the one yelling from the sidelines that retention is more valuable than reach.
Last week was all about customer experience, how it feels in the moment. But this week, we move past the moment and into the relationship.
Because if your customers aren't returning, referring, or remembering you, you're just renting attention, not earning loyalty.
And with the leaderboard tightening down, that loyalty might be the difference between top spot and hugging the bottom.
We're down to the wire. And the ones who can't build lasting connections, they won't last either.
In the boardroom, we're watching closely through the four lenses. Execution, are they showing up after the sale? Growth, is loyalty leading to real business momentum? Strategy, are relationship efforts structured and sustainable? Leadership, are they the kind of brand people want to follow?
Let's see who's locking in loyalty and who's chronically transactional.
You know, I know all of us have a product we're ultimately trying to pitch, but mine definitely comes across because it's a pitch-based thing. So I haven't figured out who to speak for yet. I think that's the big challenge I'm trying to overcome.
You're trying to close right on the spot, and that's why you're not getting the conversion you need. You got to build a relationship. Your webinars, you need to do like an intro, like a 10-minute or a 12-minute. And then if they go to the next and the next and the next, those are yeses. And then get a 45-minute webinar. And it could be evergreen. And then it leads up to meeting with you and changing his mindset of, hey, instead of saying, hey, you want to invest in property? Hey, who's looking to move to Phoenix or Colorado Springs? And I said, research who's moving there. And maybe it's a 3 to 5 year game plan and sell it as a plan to get you to move there. And hey, I could teach you how to put a 5-year plan together and start building income and changing his whole mindset of how it's going and increasing his appointments.
I did do a speech for a local college class about a month ago, and that was incredible. You know, talking to college students about mostly we went over racism as it relates to real estate and et cetera, but I spun it around into the program and how this system can help fix those neighborhoods by taking the distressed properties off the market. And so I was able to loop it back in. And that's where I feel like the speaking message I really want to take on is here's the overarching problem with some of these neighborhoods. And here's how my system can find the solution. And I feel like there's enough non-business education in there that's the messaging I'm trying to brand. I guess I'm still not clear on where.
It's like, is it the meeting planner's outcome that you're focusing on, and who are you looking for in that realm? Or is it, I want to grow my business with speaking and find people that want to do this type of investing? And those two tracks are both great tracks. It's just deciding which track are you going to focus on first.
When you mentioned that, it's definitely going to be about getting people to sign up for the system. I guess the question would be, if I'm a meeting planner, why would I bring in a guy there's a known sales pitch coming in there? Unless, of course, we're talking about real estate investment meetups, right? And that's really why these guys do that at all, is to bring speakers in who they know is going to pitch that. So for me, that would just be the marketing fodder. We have to create the pitch sheet, if you will, the one page to go out there and say, this is what I talk about. Here's the offer at the end, and then just start booking stages that way. But that's where I think I'd want to start, is presenting it to potential real estate investors in the system.
And I know Donnie's doing it from a relationship standpoint because people keep coming back. It's repeatable business.
I'm a relationship builder, and I that's the vibe of everybody in this system. Is we're just by nature, we're out there meeting people and encountering them. You have to get the vision statement pretty clearly stated. This is what I'm trying to do, because what I'm really asking for is discounted labor until I can get to an operational status here in the Phoenix market. So everybody's going to be working for a little less than they're worth until I can get there. So I got to sell this longer term vision of not what it is, but what it could be. And, Laura's like, my wife, she got over here, all this stuff. She's like, man, you say the same thing, 10 times a day. I was like,
as he labels it deals, and then, I don't know whether you should be calling it deals. You should be probably calling it opportunities or investments. And it's, again, that high pace, high volume. That's a roller coaster. You've got to really like that kind of undulating roller coaster that's fast and furious to be a customer at Donnie's.
Even I'm feeling the repetitive nature of this, but so many people have to hear it. So that goes to say that there are videos that should be shot. The vision should be captured in another form of content, so we can use that later and make that delegation much faster. But as it sits today, I'm pounding the pavement, meeting people, shaking hands and kissing babies, man. It's just it's a networking system right now.
The gimmick doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the gag is. The only thing that matters is the nurturing environment.
Here's where all entrepreneurs, and I've fallen into this trap in the past, is we get into the relationship and then we're afraid to ask for the transaction. We're afraid to ask for the business because we want them to still like us at the end of the day. It's this limiting belief piece, and I think everybody has it to a certain degree, that they don't want to ask for the business because they're afraid they will no longer like them. Your challenge is not once you have people in the funnel. Once you have people in the funnel, your customer, the people love you. Your clients and your customers are like, I want more. I want more. Like, they're just down with it because you guys are there. You've got the trust. Like, you are ingrained with them. And you're absolutely delivering on what you say you're going to do.
I have found something that can have a lot of impact in other people's lives, and that's why I think we'll be successful. I'm not money driven. I'm impact driven, and in my mind, if you're impact driven and you want to help, people, businesses, your community, the finances will follow. And so, though I am worried about finances because I have 160 acres that we have to pay for, but God is good. God has always provided, and He'll continue to provide. So yeah, am I stressed? 100%. But am I worried? Not one bit.
He's just really put out so much effort, even like him launching his event. And he's just been asking good questions. I feel like he's been consistent online. He really seems like he's grabbing the bull by the horns and putting in his heart and soul into this whole thing.
Is it okay to do it digitally? Because one of the things I was thinking of, like, okay, if you in a much more articulate way, hey, if you would like more information, come talk to me later, and then we have them fill out a Google form, for example, with their information. Or is it better to have something?
It's better. You're going to get a lot more results if you have a piece of paper. Okay. Like, people will tie QR codes, all that stuff, and I promise you, the results you get will be a fraction of the results you get when you have paper.
Yeah. So last week was a real busy week for me. As AP mentioned, we sat on that veteran entrepreneur board. I thought it went really well. I made some connections out of that as well. The day prior, I spoke at a realtor networking event for veterans, and I did about a 10-minute talk to them about situational awareness, which was, from my perspective, I didn't speak as well as I wanted to because I wasn't able to rehearse, but it was still effective. One of the participants in that group, he owns his own realty company. So he came up to me afterwards. He's like, hey, I'd love for you to come speak to my people. I said, okay, great. That'll be great. So next, it was that Friday. I sent out all the emails. Hey, it was great to meet you. He gives me a call. I'm booked to speak to 30 to 50 people on situational awareness next month. So, so it really came out well. It's free, but that's okay. As we talked about, AP, you got to get into the scene and start building, your your reputation and foundation in that space.
His confidence has really grown a lot, and his momentum. We talked initially about, it takes about a good 60 to 90 days of consistent positive activity before you start reaping the benefits. And now he is. Now that he retired, he and I are sitting on a panel Thursday. He's getting speaking gigs. He's getting out there. He's changing his mindset, how to get in front of people.
My local relationship with the I-68 family is very strong. They're very loyal. Even though I say, hey, go train with everybody, they're like, no, we're only going to train with you, Mark, which is very, very honoring for me.
Our community that we have built over the last 8 years, and we're hoping to expand that community, is that you have access to me, my instructors, almost all the time. And so, whether it's, security, advice, whether it's what type of firearm to buy, to, hey, we need some people to help you move. That is the community we're trying to build, that community that helps one another. And the vehicle of that is just the training that we're doing.
When it comes to turning the transaction into a relationship, I'm going to echo the same thing I was echoing all throughout. Mark, Samantha really knock it out of the park.
I told her, hey, it's the summer. You need to be reaching out to places. Where can your students perform for free? Get some exposure, support different outdoor events, be creative, think out of the box, right? And if she can't do it because she's paying the bills at her full-time job, she needs to map out that game plan and have the people, her support system around her, launch that.
So customer relations is our biggest priority here at Upbeat because it not only separates us from the other music studios in town, but it's also something that's very, very near and dear to my heart. It's so special for me to give kids and adults the opportunity to perform. It's in the air. To make music with people and to be able to share that with their family and friends. There's this adorable little 3-year-old that's probably maybe 2 feet high. And it was his turn to play the piano. And he walks up, everyone's looking for him because they're looking over him. And then finally we look down and we see little Benjamin walking up to the piano, and he had a 2-piece suit on with a vest, and he was looking extra dapper and so fancy. And he sat down and played a rather horrible rendition of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But it was incredible. Everyone loved it and was so supportive, and just seeing everyone smile, just light up the room, it just makes it all worth it.
I just encouraged her to talk about the journey, talk about where you're at today, not kind of waiting until everything, you've left your job and everything's polished and you've got the building and you've transitioned into what you really want to do. I think that pulls people in and really shows the vulnerability of what she's trying to do. So that was what we talked about on our last group call.
She's never going to go national while she's still working in the ER, and she hates that. She resents that. Her employees on camera watch the episode, and it's like they all think she's rich and all the money's going to her. She thinks she's poor and that she's making nothing. Ultimately, it's like I heard the girl say, it's such a different model that she lets people do Zoom calls and makeup calls. I did a little research. I know it's not. A lot of people offer that, but that's great. If locally that feels like a differentiator, then cool. At the same time saying, I always want to make it affordable. I want everybody on salary. She's not in that business.
One of my students, for example, lives in a tiny little town in northern Maine, and she really wanted to learn how to play the bass and voice lessons. She got signed up with me first for voice lessons because she didn't have any voice teachers that were in the area. And then we started doing bass lessons as well. And I love seeing her every single week because I get to see her learn and grow, but also I'm the only opportunity that she has in her area to learn the instruments that she wants to learn. One of our biggest relationships that has really benefited us in the beginning of this studio is the Ziegfeld Arts Academy. It's about 15 minutes down the road, and they do musical theater. They constantly have plays going for adults, children of all ages, children, teens, adults. And they don't do music lessons. They don't do anything like that. They just put on productions. And so because I have music directed there, because the directors know me, the owners of the theater know me, as well as a lot of the kids and adults that I have taught as their music director, they've reached out to me personally for voice lessons.
Right? So when you have Samantha, you have to create relationships. Again, you need long-term repeat customers. People only come back mostly because of the environment you create, the culture inside the building, the culture outside on the range, the culture and the environment that is created, that nurturing yet motivating experience that both Samantha and Mark, their companies produce. Again, two totally different arenas, same base. You need that base. You need that focus on, this is not a dollar for an hour thing. This is a person seeking knowledge. I am unlocking knowledge. I'm doing it through the medium of music, or I'm doing it through firearm and confidence testing and competency.
If I'm looking at or talking to Meta about what is and isn't working for them, that's taking me away from talking to the, quite literally 7 billion people that aren't using AI right now, right? I want to talk to any of them. Why aren't you using AI right now? Right? Like, that's a conversation, because if I can figure out why you're not using it, I can start to build something that dispels some of those fears or diffuses some of those arguments. And it doesn't matter if Meta thinks they're doing something similar or not, right?
Corey reminds me of like the Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, Mike? Like, if you know the story about the Brooklyn Bridge, a shit ton of concrete, 10 years of work, and nobody saw anything going on, right? It was all underwater.
For me, I really do look at everything as building on a foundation. And that foundation being either, sand or rock. And so you can't have a foundation for a business or for a personal brand or for, an organization without knowing your people and knowing who, knowing what strengths to play on, knowing how to delegate, knowing who to trust for what. I think trust is reciprocal. So we all need to trust each other, but not blindly, right? Just because you trust someone doesn't mean you trust them, to not fall down or not to slip up or not to curse. Right? So, knowing people can't be transactional. It does take time. It takes time to observe. It takes time to see people under pressure and in different types of scenarios. So I think, being transactional, even as a social media influencer, I think that's what's served me well as I've grown my brand, is I'm not transactional.
Corey, again, it's all ethereal. It's not, when people use the app, it's great, but that doesn't get back to Corey unless there's some survey.
So I think just reading people and the evolution of my professional journey has led me to ensure that every relationship is not transactional.
What if I could help you work from wherever you wanted, work the hours you wanted, and earn whatever income, unlimited income as well along the way?
With Emily, we're back to that transactional type feel. Sure, you want to introduce the patch, but where's the right hook to ask for the sale? It always feels like almost like a drug transaction where you give somebody something, they give me my money. And then, hey, do you want to come sell for me? There has that feeling has got to get erased out of her whole DNA when it comes to transactions. It has got to be from the customer experience all the way back into a transaction.
We invite a few of the big names in rodeo to collaborate, just talk with the kids and then do a little match rodeo, competition and stuff. And so one of the ladies that showed up was Lisa Lockhart, who I have gotten on the patches. And so she's been to the national finals 15 times. So she's always been my hero. And then to stand with her in line at the barbecue and get to, talk more about the patches and what she's seen with them and how they're helping her and how she's going to promote them was pretty exciting to get her all signed up and off and running.
For me with Emily, it's really easy. We just need to have some viral pet videos on Instagram. We just need to be pulling at the heartstrings of dog and cat owners and say, if you want to give them more life, longer life, better years, $100 a month pets, it's a subscription. Maybe we give people a little NFT or something fun, or give them some monthly tips on how to take better loving care of their animals, cook them food or something. But to me, her path to victory is the pets. No one else in her company is focusing on that.
He was feeling so good, he kind of overdid it, I think, and just stressed some hip muscles up here. So we're going to put that on him. And then I know in a couple days he'll be back to going good. He used to love her.
She's doing more lunch and learns. She did one last week. And I challenged her to, okay, if you're doing physical therapy places, ask for a referral and then find out something that's similar but different. So, I keep pressing Emily about you're a lion. You need to remind yourself that you're a lion. And I think she's really turned a corner with the help of us, that she really, because, I keep reminding them, belief comes before buy-in.
So
on the client side, it's like every day I have another huge one. It's like, what do you want to brag about most is like from an autism kid that's now seen there he wasn't, to a friend with lupus who's off for chemotherapy. But like this last week, my big one is I would not let my friend go who had a traumatic brain injury like 4 years ago. And she would say things and they wouldn't come out the way that they wanted. She thought that they should. And so last weekend at the rodeo, she said, Emily, thank you for not giving up on me and making me reuse these, because I can speak so much more clear now and I can remember things that I've told people. And, you wouldn't know it just talking to her, all these things, but that her husband and her family seen that change over her in the last 3 months, that I knew I had seen the testimonies on how it changes people with brain injuries, and to then have, it touch somebody that I'm very close to in that same way has been, it just brings chills and tears to your eyes.
We talk transactions, relationships, relations, transactions. We talk about this in the KLT formula, that transactions is part of the know, like, trust process. So I've flipped this on its head a little bit. This is where I think everybody does an amazing job of creating the relationships with potential clients. I think every single one of our people does it. I know Sam does it because of all the reviews that she's got. I know that Mark does it because I have personally witnessed it, and his testimonials are epic. I know that Emily does it because of her follow-up, and where people just suddenly get that eye-opening, oh, wow, that's amazing, and they engage with her. I know Corey is doing it because that's what they are literally teaching the AI to do.
Total disruption. Contested ratings.
This week, we saw Sam make some changes. She skyrocketed up to the lead, mostly because she was super focused. Now, can she hold on to that focus? This is just a 1 week thing. She's putting out the concept of customer satisfaction. She's all about the quality. She's about the repeatability this week. Mark still holds on to second because he is consistent. He is always doing the same things over and over. He is repeatable. That's a formula for success. Now, Donnie is still being Donnie. He hasn't necessarily budgeted. He's still working on getting his systems into place. He's got to make that commitment to get his systems dialed in order to make his business succeed. He's got to commit to doing those hard things that he doesn't necessarily want to, because that's where greatness is going to happen. Emily still isn't totally committed to her personal brand. We know that people will do business with Emily because of Emily, not because of the product. Next time on Boardroom Battleground.
Because growth isn't always exciting, it's exhausting.
Now it's time to scale. It's time to use that foundation that we've built the last 8 years.
The entrepreneurs have come a long way, but now they're feeling it.
It's so hard for me.
The pressure, the doubt, the chinks in the armor.
I got to make more money now to cover this thing while I'm in the rehab.
It's get a little frustrating, a little disheartening.
Who will grow and who will sit in the corner and ruminate?
Today was a real turning point, not just in the competition, but in how these entrepreneurs think and what they're really building.
We saw big shifts, and not surprisingly, this is where Sam broke ahead. Client sustainability has always been her strength. Other contestants learned that chasing attention is where real growth begins.
Real loyalty, the kind you don't have to buy because you've earned it.
And let's be honest, some of them still have a long way to go. Relationships aren't built through checklists or lengthy speculations. They're built through consistency, care, and showing up when it counts.
Every point matters here, folks. And from here on out, the gap between good and great, it's everything.
Next week, the pressure hits a whole new level. Growth is no longer a goal, it's a challenge.
We'll see who can manage the strain, fix what's breaking, and wade through the mess.
And trust us, no one here will grow without the moments of doubt and pain.
We can't wait to see you next time.